Good afternoon. Welcome inside Commonwealth Stadium. Somewhere we won't tell you where. It is discreet
Jesus.
location.
Maybe you shouldn't have been,
Sorry, my
wandering
bad.
around talking to everyone here.
Oh,
Maybe,
my
maybe
God.
got set up for your job today.
I was saying hi to all the wonderful people here at the Edmonton Elks. This is EST Afternoons. Joaquin Gage, Matthew Iwanyk joining us for a special edition. And I'm Hernan Salas. Of course, you want to listen to us, hit us up on iHeart or TuneIn radio app or watch us on the good old YouTube. Text us 780-218-9999 or on the nasty chat on YouTube as we're live here as it's a big day for the Edmonton Elks as they'll announce Chris Morris as the new president and CEO. So a very exciting day here for the Green and Gold Football Club. One of its own comes it doesn't come home, but comes and takes over here in a very important role for the Double E here. So first of all, Maddie, thank you for joining us here. Double duty for you, triple duty. You just did
He's duty.
he just did two guys and he did his show and now he's helping us out on this one. But like I said, exciting times for the Edmonton Elks. Gager, I guess your thoughts on, first of all, of course, the press conference goes at 2:00. We'll have that live for you. We'll also do the keyword coming up very shortly. So be ready for that as at 2:00, of course, we'll go live to the press conference and EST is your home for it. Straight coverage right through up until the Reed Wilkins show, and they'll have a lot more on the good old hire here of Chris Morris. And of course, the Oil Stream pregame show will come to you at 5:00 with Tom Gazzola, Matt Cassian, and myself. So don't worry, Oiler fans, we will get to it, but you'll probably have to wait till 5:00 as the Oilers are in Nashville. But Gager, this news broke yesterday. Our own Jay Milne had it first here in the city. So kudos. What does he always say?
Round of clicks.
Round the clicks
Round
for
the clicks.
Jay Milne for breaking that news. But your thoughts on Chris Morris becoming the new president and CEO of the Edmonton Elks?
Well, first off, I'd like to say it was cool being at the EST studios yesterday because news was breaking. It felt like I was actually in a newsroom when everything was going on.
Yeah.
So it was quite exciting. But Jay, this was great. Just met Mr. Morris, big man.
Yeah.
I like it. This is to be perfectly honest, this is the first time since I've been with since the afternoon shows kind of started. And I was before more of an Elks kind of fan or getting involved with the team more, learning some of the players. But I think this is a necessary move. Any good organization, it always stops at the top of the pyramid, right? It looks like they've put someone in that is well respected and has some ties to the organization. I think is it's not always the most important thing, but I think it's a feather in the cap because he wants the best for this place too, right?
Yeah.
So and now the entire process starts of putting the proper people in place to have success. Because let's face it, guys, this has been 3 years, and I think next year one of the things I want to see most is a Double E playoff game.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. We need it. It's been long overdue here. This one says, "Are you guys in Hernan's old office?" No, I wish I had this view. I was on the other side. And This one says, "Maddie, pay attention. Get off
doing
your damn
stuff
phone."
on my phone. I have other work to do as well.
Hey, Hernan,
Doing a lot of
why don't
things.
you
And I
tell
was
me?
listening to everything.
Why don't you tell me where your office is? It'll take me like 8 years to get there with your directions. This guy can't.
I'm terrible at giving
oh my
directions.
It's right next to Bob's office, Gager.
Yeah.
You know,
Bob's
Bob.
office.
Right.
It's right next to his.
Yeah. 30 meters left of the store. What store? By the rec center. What rec center?
Longitude, latitude is
But
go to lot B.
there's only 3 lots. A, B, and C.
How
You'll
am I
eventually
supposed to know?
find it.
Oh, okay, but I also always the other thing is I always go to the parking across the street.
I almost got arrested in the rec center because I was looking around. They were like,
"Who is
"Excuse
this
me,
guy?"
sir. Can I help you, please?"
And then you say Hernan told me, and who?
Who?
I am so sorry.
It's good. It's good. It's all right. We got here, buddy. We
Yeah,
got here.
We made it.
We made it.
We
We
figured
made
it
it
out.
count.
I got there before you did.
It's great to see Dahmer and EJ and Rick Lawlessure and Chris Morris. We all got to shake his hand and congratulate him. I got to see Aaron Grimes and Scotty Hutter.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it's been fun. It's been great being back here.
Although Jay,
I'm gonna get emotional. No,
I'll say this, Jay. Can you adjust that picture? Like it's crooked.
Uh,
Like this is, I think this. They said this was JMO's old office, and like,
There's
what's
no way this is
they're like,
JMO's
how is
office.
JMO?
that would not fly.
No,
JMO's
like
old
JMO's
on.
not having that.
Perfect.
Have you
Like,
seen
I don't
JMO yet?
No,
I
not yet.
saw
Neither have
him.
I.
I just saw him.
Oh, did you?
Oh,
Yeah.
did you get? Oh,
Yeah.
there's one
I
up
didn't say
there.
hi. He didn't say hi to me, which is odd because we went to the same high school too. Did he?
Oh, he shook Jay's hand. Huh?
Wow.
Fascinating. Thanks, Dave.
All right. So Chris Morris, 3-time Grey Cup champion with the Edmonton Eskimos, 93, 2003, 2005. He spent the
Should've won in
previous 12
96.
years as a head coach at the University of Alberta, a program that he turned around. I know Jay Milne and Reed are big, fans of the Bears program, and he did wonderful things there. Maddie, when you see an old green and gold alumni, a guy that bleeds green and gold, a guy that gets the culture that needs to be here in an organization, not just on the football side, but throughout the organization, and a guy that's a great football mind. This is exciting.
It's an exciting time. This is big because when Larry Thompson was announced as he's purchasing this team and he bought this team, I said the biggest thing is the president, though. Like Larry Thompson is great knowing that there's private ownership, but he's not the guy that's running this team day to day.
Yeah.
It's whoever his president is going to have to carry out the vision of Larry Thompson. So this is a massive hire. So bringing in Chris Morris is very big. Now there's two parts to this job, and I'll start with the football side of this. Not since Hugh Campbell was the president of the Edmonton Elks, which was in 2006, as a football guy actually ran this team. Somebody who's connected with football. Rick Lawlisher's a great president, but he's from hockey. He was an oil king, he's from the hockey world. Len Rhodes was not connected to this community in any way, nor did he know anything about football. And he outright said that too. He allowed Ricky Ray to get traded for almost nothing, largely. You follow that up with Chris Presson, who wasn't from this community. Follow up with Victor Cui, who local guy, but not of this team. For the first time since 06, this team, the guy that is running the football operations of this team is a true football guy.
Yeah.
And you look at what he did at the Golden Bears, and Reed, talked about it on Reed and Jay's show yesterday. People are just going to look at his record and be like, well, what is this? But they're not looking at the bigger picture of all of that, where that program was in dire need of rebuilding.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of 0-7 starts to, his first couple of seasons there. And I brought this up on the Hangout as well. It wasn't just building a football team there. Chris Morris was very much wanting to still follow the standards of the University of Alberta, which is also academic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That you still have to, if you want to play sports at the U of A, it's not just about the sports. You also have to be good with the books.
Yeah.
And he wanted to follow that standard. So Chris Morris could have probably had great records with this team if he said, screw the academics.
Yeah.
Let's go to this school and be like, we'll just get these guys in like some other schools do. And let's just get football players in here. And I'm sure the Bears could have turned around a lot quicker. But he didn't want to go do that. He wanted to do things the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw that last year, getting very close to going to the Mitchell Bowl. What they were in the Mitchell Bowl. What were they in? The Hardy Cup, and that's to go to the Mitchell Bowl. I think it was the Mitchell last year. So they got to the Hardy Cup. This year there was a lot of promise going into the season. But he's shown that he could build that team. And if you talk to Jay, and Jay talked about it yesterday, and Jay will talk about it today, Jay was part of the Golden Bears alum as the president. So he knows what Chris Morris was doing behind the scenes. Like, we see the football of this, but getting the scholarships and getting the money for that and people on board, he did that. And so from a football perspective, a guy that knows how to win, a guy that knows how to produce players, a guy that knows how to get football going, I don't think you could have had a better hire in that sense. The business side, I have my question marks about. And it's not I'm sitting here, this is terrible hire, or anything like that. This isn't the guy that has come through the business side of things then. If you hire a business, like when you hire Len Rhodes, when you hire Chris Presson, when you hire Victor Cui, you got the business acumen, but you don't have the football acumen. Here, they've absolutely hired the football acumen. I don't know what the business acumen of Chris Morris is. I'm not saying he doesn't have any. I'm saying I don't know what it is. And I'm fascinated to hear him talk about that possibly today at 2:00 about why he feels like he's the right guy to now not just worry about what's happening on the football field with this team, but okay, how's the signage? Why is that sign not right? Why isn't that my sponsor there? How do you get the fans to want to come and give up a weekend at the Cottage to come to Commonwealth Stadium to watch them to take on the Toronto Argonauts who are in town? All those things. How does he feel that, why does he feel he's that right man for that job? I'm fascinated to hear that, and I'm fascinated to watch it play out. But, from the football side, to me, an absolute touchdown. using football terminology.
He's already asked me to be in charge of all wieners sold in concessions. So it's a step in the right direction.
But I think that's the question everybody has that follows his team, that wants his team to succeed, that's maybe gone away and wants to come back is the business side. Because on the football side, Matty, I agree with you. I think they knocked it out because this guy was here when this organization was at the top. They were the best organization in the league. They won tons of championships. They won tons of games. So I think when you bring in a guy like that that's been there, knows what it takes, knows what a dressing room needs to be like, Gager, knows how the business floor needs to be and how you need to act and all that. I think he gets that. And if I'm not mistaken, obviously a former teacher.
He was. I think we had a Londonderry and Emmy Lazert possibly.
Yeah.
And that's what actually Dave had the story of back in the day. The players got to vote when practice was in the early 2000s, and it was either morning or afternoon. And all it took was one person to say no, and it moved to the afternoons. And Chris Morris, because he was a teacher, was like, "I got to do afternoons because I got to go teach."
But that might have even been back when they did 2-a-days, morning,
right,
and then they would come back in the late afternoon. So I love the hire for the football side of things. He's got a lot of big decisions to make, Joaquin and Maddie here.
But what better thing? Like, again, when Larry Thompson bought this team, what better way to kind of buy a team outside of getting an expansion team? How often do you get to do like almost a fresh start with all the business of the people in place? And now you get the president. The president gets to make a complete decision on the GM, who gets to make a complete decision on the head coach, who gets to make a complete decision almost on quarterback.
And that's the thing,
goes
right?
All the way down.
The interim tag is on Gio Simon for GM. The interim tag for head coach is on Jerry Jackson. Those are the two big ones, obviously. And then, like you said, roster. I think he's going to have a say in that, and I think he should because he knows football. He's been at the university level for the last 12 years. He knows the Canadians. He knows he just knows the games. And for me, that in that aspect, it's going to be great.
One question: with being part of U Sports for so long, give him just a little bit of a leg up on possibilities of signing Canadian talent too?
I think when players, let's say maybe they're not drafted but they want to sign, I think knowing Chris Morris might give the Elks an upper hand and say, I want to go play for that.
Right.
Obviously not directly for that guy because he's the president, he's not the GM or the coach, but I want to go play on a team where this guy is the lead man, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a big benefit for the Edmonton Elks. Coming up, we will have the keyword for the EST flyaway to LA coming up shortly here. Dustin Nielson will join us at 1:40. He's a big Chris Morris guy as well, as he covered a lot of games back in the day as well, and we'll get his thoughts. He's been out sick for the whole week. Yes,
Dusty a while ago, like months ago, he said Chris Morris for head coach.
Yes, he did.
He may have been first on this. He just got the position wrong.
Don't tell him that.
So the poor big guy is still fighting the flu bug there. He's got to do a game
Another
on Saturday.
poor guy here.
Why?
I said this. The lock shop boys. Everyone giving Dusty this poor guy.
But
he deserves
sick.
everything he gets. The way he was strutting around, and I've said this, that you got to live life like me. Look at me. I sleep 3 hours a night. I go through every drive-through as possible. I'm a pillar of physical health and strength. And then the next week, boom, gets the sniffles and he's out for a week.
Pat Gregoire yesterday, poor guy. Jake Bolamos, poor Dusty. Huss, oh, that sucks. Come on, guys. And now poor Dusty.
Get well soon. You can tell he's a big baby because when you have the flu, who's out for 4 days? Like,
oh yeah,
I was sick. I missed 2. You missed 2 days.
Yeah,
he's on his 4th day.
I know.
Yeah,
he's doing 5.
You know who I feel worse for right now?
His wife.
Like she's like, come on. Seriously,
come on, buddy.
Yeah, you're not
fine.
dying here. All right, and I'm definitely sure that he's got the little bell at the beside the table.
Yeah.
Tammy, is there any more of that chicken noodle soup or that donair?
Donairs and Pop-Tarts. Those are his comfort foods for this. He's watching Prices Right with Donairs and Pop-Tarts.
Can you just go get me the donair sauce?
Let's heat it up a little.
Donair sauce and chicken noodle soup.
Dusty, if you're listening, coconut water, my friend. Coconut water is the way to go. They'll fix you right up. Maddie, The press conference is going to go at 2:00. We'll go live to it. What do you like? Question for Chris Morris. What's the first one you would go to? Would it be the business side of things? Like, what's his experience? Well, like, how is he? What's the process going to be in that aspect?
Well, I'm kind of more curious. How did this come about? Because I don't know how any of us have seen Chris Morris. Like, no one was talking about Chris Morris.
Came out of nowhere.
It came out of nowhere. Did the Elks reach out to Chris? Did Chris reach out to the Elks? How did this whole process kind of begin, which led to today, where Chris Morris is now the president of this club? It's from the football side. Is like, I do worry about the business side. And the business side, there are a lot of question marks. But the best thing for the business side is to have a winning football team. So it's what has gone wrong with this team.
Yeah.
This team since 2006 have had 3 home playoff dates.
Yeah.
Like, it hasn't been good enough to get into the playoffs. So why hasn't this team been able to make it to the playoffs? Why hasn't this team been able to be consistently in the playoffs year in and year out, and not doing crossovers, but being in the West? Why hasn't that been the case? I'd love to get his thoughts on where that is. That's one of the bigger things. And then business size, it would be just, why does he feel that he's the right guy from a business perspective? What's his acumen that he believes suits him for that role?
When's the last playoff home game for the Elks?
2015.
That's too long.
That's
14,
too long.
15, and 11.
Yeah.
They haven't hosted a home playoff game.
How
since.
great would it be for all of us to be here, media, watching the game? They win. They're going to the big show. We're all in the media room. How great would that be, Jay? I'm looking at you.
Jay said we'd be at Century Casino.
You would have to be here for that. Okay? Yeah.
I'll take your place at the casino. All right, I'll do it.
As long as it's not a Thursday, because that's smoked brisket cheesesteak. Bro, smoked brisket Philly cheesesteak, which Lieutenant Eric has on special today.
Hey, you guys had an eventful last show. I must admit, I was giggling along with you guys on that.
Well, go back and watch it. Don't listen to it. Go back and watch it.
You got to watch it.
It's a must watch.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a must watch. You'll never know who's going to come spoil the show.
All right, we got to get to a quick break, but we are going to do the EST Flyweight 2LA, which is proudly presented by the 780. The 780 is a homegrown local shop right here in Edmonton. 780 is both the shop name and their in-house clothing brand that celebrates all things unique to E-Town. They also work with close to 100 local vendors from the 780 area code to help promote and get their brands off the ground. Check them out online at 780.com or at any of their 5 locations at Southgate, Londonderry, Kingsway, St. Albert, and the Outlet Mall by the airport. And the keyword text right now, 780-218-9999, and Zach will pick a qualifier. We'll chat with him in the second segment. Maddie?
It's net.
Net.
N-E-T.
Net.
Leon Draisaitl is going to find the back of the net tonight against the Predators.
Podkolzin's going to find the back of the net.
Sandra Bullock in the net.
Great. Oh, I like that.
Look at us go. 3 great ones.
Text us 780-218-9999, and you can be the next qualifier for the EST Flyweight 2LA, which is proudly presented by the 780. We're back live from Commonwealth Stadium here on EST Afternoons. But first up, here's Zachticum with a sports update.
Noah Philp is set to make his NHL debut for the Edmonton Oilers when they face the Nashville Predators. And you can join Tom Gazzola and Hernan Salas for the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show at 5, only on Edmonton Sports Talk. There's 6 other games on schedule, having the Leafs face the Kraken, the Canadiens battle the Caps, and the Bruins meeting with the Hurricanes. Thursday night football action has the Texans kicking off against Aaron Rodgers and his Jets, where you can join Lieutenant Eric down at the Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge for that one. And basketball has 4 games on tap with the Bucks and Grizzlies opening up the night. And over in baseball, the Braves have traded Jorge Soler to the Angels in exchange for Griffin Canning. Right after the break, the live on location from Commonwealth EST Afternoons continues. I'm Zachary Kubusch, keeping you up to date.
Ready for an unforgettable sports experience? It's the EST Flyaway to LA. Presented by the 780. Listen daily for the EST Flyaway keyword. Once you hear it, text us at 780-218-9999 for your chance to qualify buy to fly to LA. Round trip flights for 2, hotel and car rentals, all to go see Edmonton face off against either LA or Anaheim. Plus, experience the brand new Intuit Dome as the Clippers tip off against the Warriors, and top it all off with the Rams kicking off against the Cardinals at SoFi Stadium. This is more than just a trip. This is the ultimate sports experience. The EST Flyaway to LA, presented by the 780 and Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports. Since 1952, William Huff has been the heartbeat of Edmonton's advertising world. From humble beginnings to a citywide powerhouse, we've been the go-to for signage from print to design and installation. Partnering with Edmonton's top sports franchises and major events, we've helped shape the city's global reputation. Our secret? Unmatched customer service, decades of experience, and a passion for excellence we call the William Huff Advantage. Visit us online at williamhuff.com.
You want the heavy hitters on your team, both on and off the ice. If you've been injured in a car accident, call the heavy hitters of injury law. James H. Brown and Associates, Alberta Injury Lawyers. With over 200 years of combined injury law experience, their precedent-setting lawyers are ready to help. Locally owned and proud Edmonton Oilers fans, James H. Brown and Associates wants to support you with their unrivaled experience, unrivaled results, and unrivaled commitment. When accidents happen, head to jameshbrown.com.
Welcome back to EST Afternoons here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports. Joaquin Gage, Matthew Iwanyk, Jay Milne is in the building as well. He's hanging out here waiting for the 2 o'clock press conference that's going to go live, introducing Chris Morris as the Edmonton Elks' new president and CEO. You can catch it live on YouTube. We'll have it for you as well on the EST YouTube channel. But if Zach, you can just send us a message. If you have the qualifier ready to go, we'll get to him right away, or her, and qualify someone else here. And we'll continue the Elks talk here as we go throughout the day. The Reed Wilkins show will go from 3 to 5 with Jay Milne. They'll have even more Elks coverage as well. And then at 5 o'clock, we'll switch gears to the Edmonton Hockey Club, Gager, who's in Nashville tonight to continue their road trip. That game's at 6. We'll be on air at 5 with Tommy Gazzola, Matt Cassian, and myself. And then obviously, once the game is over from Nashville, we'll have the Oil Stream post-game show for you. So full day of coverage here on EST. I want to get to it was interesting, guys, because excuse me. Sorry. It was interesting, guys, because Chris Morris was on the Reed Wilkins show on Tuesday, and this is before any of us knew what was going on, and obviously he knew. And I think Jay asked him about, like, what do the Elks need to do going forward? And there's one answer that stood out to me, and it was, like they need a long-term plan. You can't keep going for these 1-year plans and all that. And that to me screamed MBT, what Jones did in the offseason. What did I read too much into that comment, do you guys think? Because I looked at it as like, yes, this club needs something long-term, a 4, 5, 6-year plan, build around one guy and go from there instead of going the 1 year, right?
Well, I mean, I've never been part of management, but I think that goes into picking the right person to be the general manager too. You want to see their vision. Obviously, it's to find the right personnel. It takes that's not just down to one person. You're looking at a multitude of people to see who they want to bring in here. But and I think that's kind of the process of hiring the next GM, is seeing what their vision is in the team. If that doesn't align with Morris's kind of vision, then he's probably going to look somewhere else. But I think you want to. I think it's more long term. That's what he would probably be looking for. If I got to punch up the resume, but if I was being discussed as GM of the Double E here, I'm looking way more long term, especially looking at we talked about the last time these guys have had a home playoff date. You want something sustainable going into the future.
Yeah, we'll get Maddie's thoughts on that, but we do have Kathy on the line, who is the next qualifier for the EST Flyaway to LA, which is presented by the 780. Kathy, how are you doing today?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
We're excellent. We're excellent. If you win this trip to Los Angeles, who would you take with you?
Well, this has come as a complete surprise, so I've been doing some quick thinking, but my daughter gets married next summer, so it might be a fun mother-daughter trip or maybe a really nice wedding gift.
Oh, that'd be
Wow.
great. Yeah, and the trip is from Boxing Day up until December 30th. You'd watch Clippers, Warriors, Rams, Cardinals, and the Edmonton ice hockey team in either LA or Anaheim. Have you ever watched the Oilers on the road?
I have actually. I've seen that at Madison Square Garden,
Oh.
the TD Arena in Boston, and Chicago and Nashville. So
Oh,
yeah,
oh
I like
wow.
road trips.
Just Madison Square Garden alone is amazing, Kathy. But you know what? You are my front runner. I hope you win this trip so you can take your daughter as a nice wedding gift. The winner will be announced November 29th on the morning show with Dustin Nielson. All the best. And yeah, I hope your name is called on the 29th.
Well, thanks very much. I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm a big fan of your show. Thanks for all you guys do.
Thank you so much. That's Kathy. Our next qualifier for the EST Flyway to LA, which is presented by the 780. Check them out online at 780.com or at any of their 5 locations: Southgate, Londonderry, Kingsway, St. Albert, the Outlet Mall by the airport, of course. Your next chance to qualify comes on the Reed Wilkins Show with Jay Milne from 3 to 5 today.
Look, if Kathy's daughter's fiance is listening, which he probably is, you find out what Kathy likes for Christmas, because she's already dropped that bomb that's a cool wedding. That takes care of the honeymoon.
Oh yeah,
like you got to find out what she likes, man. That is unbelievable. So yeah, get on that pronto.
Maddie, I want to get to you about the question about Chris Morris saying like they need a long-term plan. And I find it interesting because the CFL, compared to every other sports league in North America, is a little bit different because you can retool, rebuild quickly. You can do it in a year. You can do it in 2 years. It's rare that you see what Edmonton's gone through the last 4 years, Ottawa, what they went through before this year, right? They were struggling. So for you, like, which side are you on here? Like, long term, like, is that 5-6 years? Because the short term didn't work here for the last 4 years when you're looking for that kind of quick fix.
Yeah, it's the thing is, like, we're not talking about a full teardown of football team that's necessary,
not. Yeah,
right? Like, we've seen at the end that there are players here, and it's like, no matter what, there is a quarterback that you should be able to go get to start this team to win football games next year. That is part of a longer term plan of 4 or 5 years potentially. You either could re-sign, and hopefully, in my perspective, hopefully they re-sign Trey Ford, who's a young quarterback, and there's a guy you can build around. Or I would think that you're getting Vernon Adams Jr. There's not a lot of starting jobs available in the Canadian Football League looking towards next year. It's mostly like at the 2 I look at is in this province.
Yeah.
One's going to get VA, one might get Trey Ford. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah.
So, but with either of those guys, you could build around them. You can go possibly win around them. The reason I say possibly is it's still not 100% certain with Trey Ford. I believe you could, though. But we haven't definitively seen it against, like top teams in the course of a season. But when you're looking at that vision, like this team, it was almost there in 14-15 where it looked like, okay, this is going to be a team that's going to be good for a number of years. And after a 10-year stretch, they're back to being the Elks. And then it kind of just fell off. Chris Jones leaves, everything that goes around that. When you're looking at that's like, you should be able to turn this around. Like, they should be a Grey Cup contender in 2 years.
Yeah.
They've got to be. And it's especially...
Or playoff contender.
No, next year, not next year, the year after. In 2026, they're going to be hosting a Grey Cup behind us, likely. Calgary's not winning that bid. The CFL is a joke if they allow Calgary to win that bid over the city of Edmonton. Like, when you look at Commonwealth here and you look at
I
right off the bat, like all that, if the both cities want it, Edmonton gets the Grey Cup. You've got 2 years to go do that. You've got some players here.
Yeah.
Turning it around in 2 years isn't crazy.
Yeah.
They took a massive step forward this year. They won 7 football games. The last 2 years prior, they won 4 in each of those years. They almost had the exact same amount of wins this season as they did the last 2 years combined. There is, like, they've already taken that step forward. So usually I look at things as in threes. You have 3 years to turn it around. I think we've already kind of gone through 1 year.
Okay.
If you do the right thing this offseason, you bring in the right players. And part of that is, like, where I think, Chris Morris is talking about this is that you can't blow this thing up this year. You can't now all of a sudden be like, okay, well, we had this good success, but we're going to bring in all of our own guys. We're going to get rid of everyone and bring in our own guys. You've got to look at the stable that you have here and be like, okay, who are the pieces that we are keeping? Because we've got to keep players around and build from those players. And that's not just at quarterback. That's at other players. That's a Niles Morgan defensively. Yeah. You can't be looking for a new middle linebacker. No. You got to do what you can to keep that guy around and build around those pieces. But, you want to have players that are here the fans could be around, love, buy their jerseys of. So there's that part to this. In the CFL, that can be done quicker. And with who these Elks are, like I'll sit here and say next year, it would be great to talk about this team being in the Grey or in the playoffs. In 2026, it's going to be this team should be able to get to the Grey Cup. Yeah, I think next year playoffs for sure. Yeah. And then 2 years, 3 years, Grey Cup. And that's the beauty of the CFL where I compare it to other leagues where you can make that jump real quick, Gager. It's not like hockey or the NFL or basketball where rebuilds take 3, 4, 5 years, right?
Well, and I think you've mentioned some positions where you have to kind of solidify that. I think getting those in place early makes it easier for the retooling and getting other players to come because they know that they're going to be competitive, right? Look, there's people you want to showcase yourself. You want to get into a good situation. I think Edmonton is one of the best places to play sports. I was fortunate enough to be not in the summertime. Like this is great to play here. It's great, it's a community that's looking forward to being part of some success, I think, but that has to come on the field.
No, 100%. And they have a lot of core pieces. You saw the All-Stars announced yesterday, 7 for the Elks.
No Niles Morgan. Actually, who was it there?
Anderson, wasn't it?
No, it was.
No, for the middle linebacker spot.
Because Milligan's going to win the Defense Player of the Year regardless of that. But Nick Anderson's probably going to win Rookie of the Year. I bet everything I own that he's going to, which is it's great to see that. And it wasn't
Jameer Thurman. Jameer Thurman and Nick Anderson.
Is Jameer Thurman better than Niles Morgan?
And CJ Rivas.
No, I'm biased because Niles is my guy, but I mean, like Niles is an absolute beast. Like 100 tackles for the second year in a row, and he missed 6 games last year, Gager. But what I'm getting at is that of the 7 nominees and the 7 All-Stars, there was a mix of young and old, which tells you something that this team is trending in the right direction and probably could have had a few more. But when you look at a guy like Roland Milligan, who's outstanding this year, right, Matty? And then you look at the MOP, it's Oliveira. Yeah. And Bo Levi Mitchell. Bo Levi Mitchell that was going to get benched.
He did get benched.
He did get benched. And then it was the Elks there because I was with the team at the time and we went to Hamilton and Powell lasted 2 plays because he got hurt by Niles Morgan on a clean hit. And then Bo Levi comes back and just continues to tear it up. But this might be the most, I don't want to say underwhelming, but because Oliveira got good in the second half. He wasn't good in the first half. And then
Oliveira was Oliveira was so he's hurt to start the year. He was fine in the first half. He actually put up some pretty decent numbers.
No touchdowns.
But no touchdowns.
Yeah.
Was his first touchdown against the Elks?
Yeah. When he put the 2 up. It was his second half of the season was dominant. Like it was really good. The first half, it wasn't bad. It was a little bit injury plagued and it was fine.
Where are you on a possibility of a player winning MOP that their team is not in the playoffs because
he's not going to win it.
No, because we see it in the NHL. Yeah. Remember when the Oilers, McDavid was tearing it up, but they wouldn't go to the playoffs, and a lot of the media was saying he can't win it because his team's not in the playoffs. But it's a regular season award. Yeah,
but part of the regular season is having to make the playoffs.
I think it should be a team that's going to the playoffs.
So you don't agree with Bo being in the?
No, because of the wording of the award.
Yes. Okay.
But here's the other thing with Bo is that it's not like he won it. He's just the East, and there's no one else out East that I would give it ahead of Bo Levi.
So you 100% think he won't win it?
There's not a chance.
Okay.
There's not a chance. I would have had it Roland Milligan Jr. as my MOP winner this year.
Okay.
I think they got it wrong by going to Brady, not taking anything away from Brady. Great season, but I think the fact that he plays for Winnipeg and is an offensive player gives him a little bump. But the next guy's Brady, and that's it. There's no one else. It's those 2. So Brady is I don't know if there's who votes on this and there's a unanimous or anything. Brady's should be the clear unanimous.
I mean,
because he also got to the play. He carried the Bombers for a large part of that.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I just Bo Levi's Mitchell's numbers were outstanding, but he didn't go to the playoffs. That to me is a big no.
But it's most outstanding.
Yes. During the regular season.
That's
what it is.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's a good conversation. We'll continue it here on EST Afternoons as we're live from Commonwealth Stadium. An exciting day for the Edmonton Elks as they will officially announce Chris Morris as the new president and CEO of the club. We'll run the full press conference starting at 2, and we'll jump back on and hoping to have Chris Morris joining us just before we switch over to the Reed Wilkins show with Jay Milne. But coming up next, it's the big guy from his home. Dustin Nielson will join us, get his thoughts on the hiring of Chris Morris, as he's a big Chris Morris supporter, so I'm intrigued to hear what he has to say. That's all coming up here on EST Afternoons. Keep the conversation coming on the Nasty Chat and text us 780-218-9999. This one says, Gager, how are you not dressed as a hot dog right now? Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, we have to be professional because you were a crayon earlier on.
Yeah,
Tommy was a baseball player, and Jasmine was.
I was a sexy crayon. Tommy was a sexy baseball player, and Jasmine was sexy Catwoman on the sexy hangout.
All right, Dustin.
Sexy qualifier.
Sexy Dustin Nielson joins us next here on EST Afternoons. But first up, here's Zachticum with a sports update.
Former Golden Bear Noah Philp will make his NHL debut for the Oilers down in Nashville. And at 5 o'clock, Tom Gazzola and Hernan Salas go live for the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show, where you can join them to get set for the action right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Elsewhere, it's the Ducks facing the Penguins before the Flyers go at it with the Blues, and the Kraken battle the Leafs. Thursday Night Football has the Jets duking it out against the Texans, with Lieutenant Eric at the Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge for the action. Kickoff for that one goes just after 6. In the NBA, the Suns tip off with the Clippers. The Rockets meet the Mavericks. The Bucks take on the Grizzlies, while the Spurs match up against the Jazz. Just after the break, Dustin Nielson joins EST Afternoons. I'm Zachary Kubusch, and that was your sports update.
Wake up with the Nielson Show with Dustin Nielson and Lieutenant Eric. Weekday mornings 6 to 9 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
Book your holiday party at the CBH today. The Canadian Brewhouse is your ultimate destination for events, parties, fundraisers, and more. 'Tis the season to celebrate. Visit and book now in-store or at the Canadian...
Your brand deserves more than just a whisper. It deserves a buzz. At the Hive Product Marketing, they specialize in promotional products that bring the buzz. From eye-catching giveaways to unforgettable keepsakes, they got the perfect products to make your brand stand out and get noticed. Visit the Hive Product Marketing and let them create the buzz your business deserves. The Hive Product Marketing, the official merch partner of Edmonton Sports Talk. Visit them online at thehiveproductmarketing.com.
Hi there. If you're like me, you like to picture yourself in luxury, even though there's absolutely no way you can afford it. And if you can, well, even better. Thankfully, I picture myself in something that is luxury, but still absolutely affordable, like the all-new Mazda CX-90 from Park Mazda. With the new luxury features like facial recognition settings and quilted detail Napa leather seating, I can pretend to be comfortable with all of my proper settings activated without even touching a button, thanks to Mitch Lewicki and the great staff at Park Mazda. I like to picture Mitch Lewicki with like a giant eagle's wings and singing lead vocals for Lynyrd Skynyrd with like an angel band. And I'm in the crowd hammered drunk. Park Mazda, your dealer for life insurance.
EST Afternoons, welcome back. We're live here from Commonwealth Stadium as the Edmonton Elks will officially announce Chris Morris as the new president and CEO of the club here. We're just waiting on Dustin Nielson. Zach just sent a message, so maybe he's MIA, maybe he's sleeping. So we don't see
wow.
on that. Oh, there he is. I can see him pop up there as he's been off all week as he's fighting the flu bug. But an exciting day for the Edmonton Elks, and then a lot more news to come down the pipe. We'll see what happens at the general manager position, head coaching position, and we'll see what kind of players and they keep and bring in and all that. So it's going to be an exciting time here for the Green and Gold as the offseason officially kicked off last Friday after their big win over the Toronto Argonauts on a punt rouge. So if Dusty's ready to go, we can throw him on here. I just heard a cough. So
fake cough.
What's up, Dusty? How you feeling there, big guy?
Man, I just sad. Like, I missed so much cool stuff this week. I missed the draft. I would have streamed the poker thing. I had a great Halloween costume this year. So it's just, I mean, it sucked. I'm getting angry that I'm not better yet, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but you got to be good for Saturday, right? It's going to be a fun. It's a big game, obviously. BC Lions, Saskatchewan Roughriders. So you got to rest up, big guy there.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, so the news dropped that Jay Milne had it first here in Edmonton, and it was official yesterday. And the Elks today will present Chris Morris here in the dressing room at 2:00. We're just about 17 minutes away from that. We got to meet him briefly here at Commonwealth Stadium. But you're a big Chris Morris supporter. You always have been, Dusty. What do you make of this move, of this hire? Sorry, by the Edmonton Elks.
I love it, man. Like, and you're right. Like, covering the Golden Bears. Basically, I did the Bears for a year, and then he took over. So, and then I think I did the Bears for like 6 or 7 more years, and he was the head coach. And I know they didn't turn it around as quickly as some people would have liked. But I think they got the right guy for this because he's a leader, and he's a guy that turned around a program that is now churning out professional football players on a regular basis, and wasn't doing that at all when he took over. And it took a while to get there. So, I know I kind of joked about it on our show, maybe he could be a head coach. So I didn't really have him on the radar for the president, but I think what the organization needs is a leader. And I don't think they've had that, and not a phony, like a true leader. I don't think they've had that in a long time. And I think that's going to be important. And then, the success or failures of the organization will probably come down to, who he puts in place, right? If it's going to be her for GM or somebody else, those are the guys who are going to have to make all the difficult football decisions, right? So,
yeah,
I don't think we look at Chris Morris and blame him in 5 years for not bringing in a running back or something along those lines. Like that he's going to put the people in place to do that. But I think a guy who's extremely passionate about the organization, a guy who works extremely hard, has amazing ties to the community, and is a leader is what they need in that spot.
Dusty, you mentioned one of his good qualities as a leader. I love the fact that there's ties to the community, but what you've seen from Chris Morris, what are some of the other qualities that you think he can bring as president of this organization?
Well, I think, and I saw a little bit of it on Twitter yesterday. I know some people talk about, his lack of business experience. Now, with that being said, I mean, being around that football team, the Golden Bears, from a business perspective, 7 years I was calling their games, improved significantly. Like when he took that organization over, man, the Bears didn't have much going for them at all. So, I remember when we had him on our show the very first time when he got the job. I was like, I think I was like 29 at the time. And I was joking about how I might have years of eligibility left, and I quit radio and go work go be an offensive lineman for Chris Morris. Like he just comes, and you guys will hear it today when he speaks. If they get him on your show or if he's on Reed's show later on, he wins you over. It's just that simple, because I think what is the key here for this organization is you have to have somebody who's not going to give up. And somebody who, like, when the going gets tough and you're like, oh man, it's gonna be more difficult to bring in some of the, bring back some of the fans that we lost, or bring back some of the sponsorship that we lost. He's not just gonna mail it in. Like, he's gonna be determined to accomplish his end goal, which I think is to, reestablish the legacy of EE football to the point where it once was. So I think his determination is going to be one of the key things that I just don't see him in 4 years being like, it's not working. See ya. Like, I don't see that being the guy. And that's the last thing they need. They need somebody who's going to be stable. And I think Chris is going to be that guy.
You talk about, I'm old enough. Like, I remember I saw Chris Morris play. It was at a time where the Elks were the best team in the CFL. Wasn't even close in every aspect of the organization. And I think Chris, looking from the outside, and he was on Reed Show on Tuesday, Dusty, before all this news dropped, and you can tell that the culture of this is going to shift. And I'm not saying the culture here is terrible, because it's not. But I'm just saying he knows what a championship culture looks like, and not just in the football side, but on the business side as well, right? Like, this guy gets it. He bleeds green and gold. And I just think it's such a positive move in that aspect in terms of culture.
Well, yeah. And I mean, as good as people will say culture is around different organizations and stuff, I mean, the Edmonton Elks are losers. That's what they've been for the last, 3-4 years. It's tough. It's tough to, say you're a bunch of winners when you haven't got there yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guys can say all the right things, but until you've done it, you're not going to improve the culture by winning 4, 5, 6 games every year. Like, that's just simply not going to happen. I think Mike O'Shea is a great example in Winnipeg. Like, O'Shea's done some incredible things. Heard you guys talking about the MOP. We can talk about that a little bit later if you want. But O'Shea's done some incredible things. But you have to remember, like, the Bombers sucked for the first few years when he was there, right?
He almost got let go, Dustin.
Yeah, and like, everybody talks about, organizations want to be, similar to what the Bombers and their culture have created. And A, it's because they win. And B, it's because they were patient with O'Shea. And I mean, that guy will never pay for a dinner in Winnipeg ever again. I mean, and it's different. He's the head coach. But I think the fact that Chris is leaving head coaching to take over the presidency just shows, because he loves coaching.
Yeah.
It just shows how badly he wants to get this organization back on track. Simple as that.
Dusty, you mentioned culture and that things haven't been going well for the Elks over the past few seasons. Does that mean you expect a little bit of house cleaning at the management level of this organization?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to slight G-Roy or Jarius, but I mean, you're the new owner. You found a new president. I don't know why in the world, running any business, you would just decide to keep the other guys around. Like, think about it. If you're running a business that's failing over and over and over again, and you have a chance to reset it, why would you sit there and go, yeah, the guys who couldn't get us over the hump are going to be the guys who get us over the hump now. So I think you just have to take advantage of the opportunity to completely reset things. For number one, because it hasn't worked. And yeah, they should have won more games this year, but they didn't. And number two, you've alienated your fan base over the last few years. This is a chance to win back some of those people. And I think you have to take advantage of that as well. So we saw a bump, and whether it was because they went to Trey or because Larry took over, there will probably be some fans who come back because Chris Morris is running the show because of his connection to the organization. But if we're sitting here at the beginning of next season and we're talking about Chris Morris and Ed Hervey leading the Edmonton, probably refer to them lots as the Double E football team. But if that's what you're going to get, people are going to come back. As simple as that.
Yeah, Dusty, I know you talked about this on your show last week with Lieutenant Eric and the quarterback situation here in Edmonton. It was a little messy this year for sure. Going forward, and it's hard to kind of grasp where they're going to go until we know who's officially going to be the GM and the head coach here. But if it were up to you, are you? I'm not saying committing long term, but are you committing to trade forward over going out and maybe overpaying for a high price free agent that's a little bit older?
It's a good question.
Because I just want to throw this in there. When Chris joined Reed on Tuesday and they asked him about what he thought about the Elks, and this is before anybody knew anything. Obviously, Chris did. But he said, he goes, this team needs to start planning for the long term and not 1 year.
Yeah.
That's why I ask, right?
That's the right mindset. I mean,
Yeah.
It all depends on whatever type of relationship they think they have with Trey. Now the list, there will be quarterbacks available, but the list isn't that great.
No,
you
it's
know,
not.
like VA will be available. He's excellent. But outside of that, like Jake Mayer, I don't know if he's going to move the needle for you. MBT still kicking around. I'm still a little bit undecided on Trey. But that's just because we haven't seen him. I want to see him do it for 14, 15, 16 games.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of crazy for us to have a hot take on whether he can or he can't, because we really just don't know if it's sustainable. And I mean, not against Trey, but also has to stay healthy, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not going to be committed to, no matter how athletically gifted you are. And don't get me wrong, he is the most athletically gifted quarterback in the entire league. If you can't stay healthy, you can't be a franchise quarterback. So if they were to run him back next year, I do think you need a veteran quarterback who people aren't going to be calling for you to go to if Trey has a bad game, right? Like you need like Dane Evans back in the day, where it was like you like to have Dane Evans.
Yeah.
And when you needed Dane Evans, he could come in and play, but nobody was ever being like, start Dane Evans. So that's the type of guy you need.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens, Gager. And I mean, there's so much to go. This is kind of step one of a step 3 process here, Dusty. And before we let you go here, Dusty, as we're getting closer to the official unveil of the new president and CEO for the Edmonton Elks, Chris Morris, we'll head down there to the dressing room for a bit. Well, and then we'll jump back on and hopefully have Chris Morris join us for a few minutes. As you can imagine, it's a pretty busy day for him. Let's get to the MOP discussion. Bo Levi Mitchell, Brady Oliveira. I mean, both guys, sure, they should be there. But can a guy win it when his team is not in the playoffs?
When he throws for 5,500 yards, I think he can. Like the bottom line is, what was more outstanding this year? Bo Levi Mitchell's numbers or Brady Oliveira's numbers? And I'm sorry, it's not even close. Like it's from if you were to just eliminate both and say one guy threw for 5,500 yards, 1,200 more yards than any other quarterback, 32 touchdowns, which was like how many more touchdowns? Like he ran away with all the stats. I think I heard Maddie earlier. So now with like full transparency here, I voted Roland Milligan to be the MOP coming out of the West.
Okay.
So I would have gone with Roland Milligan. Brady had a good season, but I don't think Brady had a great season.
No,
I thought Brady had a great season. And to me, you could have made a case for Justin McInnes to be most outstanding Canadian. He led all Canadian receivers, or he led all receivers by a similar margin to Brady and had way more touchdowns. And Milligan, I think, should have been the MOP in the West. So Brady's coming out representing both of those. I think it's not going to be unanimous. As Maddie said, I can guarantee it's not going to be unanimous. So, yeah, I mean,
because remember,
like to me, MVP is, yeah, you know what? You are the most valuable because you did lead your team to the playoffs.
Yeah.
But most outstanding to me eliminates that caveat. Like, bottom line is Bo Levi Mitchell's numbers were far and away the most outstanding in the league this year. It's not even close.
Because I brought up the McDavid. Remember when the Oilers, they went to the playoffs in 2017, then they had a couple of really bad years, but McDavid and Draisaitl were winning MVPs and all that. And a lot of the media and fans were complaining because they're not a playoff team.
Yeah.
But it wasn't acceptable. So that's why I'm curious of how CFL media and fans feel about Bo Levi possibly winning, because when you put it the way you did, yeah, his numbers are way above what Brady did.
Just go compare Bo to the rest of the quarterbacks and then compare Brady to the rest of the running backs. And, you know, Brady leads in rush yards. He also has, I would look, he probably is the leader in attempts, if not close to the leader in attempts. Gets involved in the passing game too. He's extremely important. If this was an MVP conversation, I think you just have to look at the wording of MVP, MOP, and it's different. So we'll see. I'll be interested to see what the final results are in the vote, because I guess we'll find out what the Canadian Football League thinks about having to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Dusty, thank you for taking some time to join us. Get better, my friend. We'll see you Saturday on the broadcast, and then hopefully Monday in the studio. But feel better, my friend.
Yeah. Good job, boys. Good job.
All right, it's Dustin Nielson joining us from his home. He's been there for the last 4 days, really sick, but we're going to get to a break here, and then following the break, we'll throw it right to the press conference down in the Elks dressing room. We'll jump back on, hopefully with Chris Morris as well, to wrap up the show. Reminder, Reed Wilkins is coming up with Jay Milne 3 to 5, and then the Oil Stream pregame show, Oilers taking on the Nashville Predators. That's coming to you from 5 to 6. But for now, we'll send you to the Elks. We'll send you to a break, a sports update, then the Elks dressing room, and we'll return right after that. This is EST Afternoons here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Joaquin Gage, Hernan Salas, and here's a break followed by a sports update by Zachticum.
Celebrating 70 years in the signage industry, William Huff Advertising is the most recognized name in the game. An in-house, one-stop shop for all of your design, print, and installation needs. William Huff provides quality graphic solutions for everyone. Here in our City of Champions and throughout the nation, they are the preferred signage partner entrusted by many of the biggest corporations, pro sports teams, and organizations to bring their identity to life. Recognize the name, get in the game. WilliamHuff.com.
Looking for a winning strategy for your retirement? Contact me, Joaquin Gage at K4 Financial, where expertise meets dedication. I will always look for a careful approach to your retirement, ensuring your financial future is secure. From tailored strategies to clear, actionable advice, I'm here to guide you every step of the way. Don't leave your future to chance. Get in touch with me, Joaquin Gage, today at k4financial.ca or email joaquin.gage@k4financial.ca to start planning for a brighter future and a more secure retirement.
A&W has a deal for you. What's better than one A&W Mama Burger made with a perfectly seasoned grass-fed beef patty topped with pickles, a slice of onion, ketchup, mustard, and teen sauce served on a toasted sesame seed bun? 2 Mama Burgers for only $9.99. You can enjoy 2 of these delicious, mouth-watering Mama Burgers for only $9.99 at participating A&W restaurants in Edmonton, St. Albert, Sherwood Park, and Devon. What a deal! And to make it even more convenient for you, most A&W drive-thrus are open 24 hours.
Calvin Pickard gets a start for the Oilers in their game against the Predators. And you can catch Tom Gazzola and Hernan Salas live for the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show just an hour before puck drop right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. The Leafs are also in action, meeting with the Kraken while the Canadians battle the Caps and the Bruins play the Hurricanes. It's the Jets and Texans for Thursday Night Football, where you can come to the Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge on Fort Road to join Lieutenant Eric for the game. And the NBA has a 4-game schedule, including the Bucks meeting with the Grizzlies and the Suns taking on the LA Clippers. In just a moment, we will go live with the Elks Presser with newly announced president and CEO Chris Morris. But Hernan Salas will be joining you right away. I'm Zachary Kubusch with your sports update.
Welcome back to EST Afternoons, Hour 2 here. As it's Joaquin Gage, Hernan Salas, Matthew Iwanyk was with us as well for a bit there. Just a quick reminder, portions of this hour brought to you by the Canadian Brew House. NHL lives at the Canadian Brew House. Every Oilers game day, get $1 off tankards of Molson Canadian Coors Light. You can win game tickets and 2 tickets to a surf and turf dinner at the end of the season. Full details at the CanadianBrewHouse.com. We're about to go live to the Edmonton Elks press conference that's going to announce Chris Morris as the new president and CEO. We'll take you there as soon as we can. How's my hair standing up too? So we're just gonna buy some time here for the Elks as they're getting ready. And then Zach, if he sees it before us, he can let us know. Of course, the Edmonton Oilers in action tonight against the Nashville Predators. Drake Kajula and Noah Philp going to make their season debuts. You excited?
Well, I'm not really that excited, but I'm interested. I guess you could say that.
That's a better word, not excited.
This is. I think it's needed, actually. If you think about it, like these are. You only get one chance to make a first impression, and if there's any time for a newcomer to come in and steal the show, it's time for Mr. Philp to get in here. I think. I don't know if we're going to get to it, but just really quickly, I just think inserting two guys that want to just make the team and have a little bit more of that, some youthful exuberance and some veteran experience can really help out this team. Get out, maybe help with a little bit of that Stanley Cup hangover where these two guys weren't involved in it, right? And they just want to be part of it.
I think Kajula gets into create some ruckus tonight.
Yeah.
I think he will. Yeah. I think we'll. I can see that we're almost ready to go down in the Elks dressing room for the big announcement. Chris Morris, the big guy. He's a nice guy.
Great guy.
Yeah, we just got to meet him in the hallway with Rick. Of course, Rick was giving a couple jabs there. What are you doing here? And he's a great guy, though. Nothing but love for everybody here in this organization. It's a great team, and we just want them to go. So we're gonna go. Yeah, Zach, if we're ready, we can just go to the press conference. Joaquin Gage and myself will return right after to break it all down.
So in just a moment, the Elks will go live with newly announced president and CEO Chris Morris, who won 3 Grey Cups with the Eskimos back in the day, and most recently came off a position with the Golden Bears football team, being the head coach of that. And of course, the boys have been live all day, since Two Guys and a Goalie at noon with from the Commonwealth Stadium for this announcement. And here we head down to Commonwealth for that.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Commonwealth Stadium. My name is Evan Dom, Vice President of Marketing and Fan Engagement for the Edmonton Elks. Thanks for joining us here today as we unveil Chris Morris as the next President and CEO of the Green and Gold. We'll begin today's press conference with brief remarks from both outgoing President and CEO. When we get to the question portion, I'd ask that you please raise your hand and wait for the microphone, and then state your name and outlet. With that, I'd like to introduce President and CEO Rick Lawlisher.
Thank you, Evan. Only a couple hours to go. Not bad. I wondered when this interim would be over. Anyways, on behalf of Larry and Deb Thompson, who unfortunately can't be here, they're out of town, we're certainly delighted to welcome Chris Morris as the new president and CEO of the Edmonton Elks Football Club. Through the process of recruitment, Chris checked a lot of the boxes, and I'm sure a lot of you know, 14 years with the club playing, and then in the football side at the U of A. It reminds me of another teacher and coach and player that happened to be a president here, and Hugh Campbell, for a number of years. So we're just delighted to have Chris here. We're going to spend a few weeks in the transition, and then I'm going to take my leave and do a little bit of traveling, but also be a support and advisor to Larry and Deb Thompson, and of course a mentor to Chris join us. And he's got a big learning curve, but he's certainly a very hard worker, committed to the EE organization. And Chris, come on up here, and I'll give you not a number 6. Jersey, but a 20.
Start off, and I really want from the bottom of my heart to thank Larry and Deb Thompson for this humbling opportunity. If I could think of one job in the world that I would covet more than anything else, it would be to come here right now at this time when this organization is in need and in some possible way be able to help. I am humbled beyond belief to be here. I am excited to be here, and I'm really ready to get to work for this thing. When you talk about what we're going to do going forward, I think you got to start talking about what you're going to build. The first thing we need to build here is a championship level football team. This city was nothing about nothing but championships for decades and decades. We need to be a championship level team that can before you. There's been 5 presidents in the last 8 years that have sat up here and said the exact same thing. Okay? What I'm going to tell you is this. We are going to build a culture in order to achieve our goal of building this team. Our culture here will be one that values everyone, from the player on the field to the person who's in the front office to the people selling our tickets. As an organization, we will know what our jobs are and we will value each other. And this will not be a culture of disposable people where people come and go on a regular basis. We will build continuity here. We need to reconnect with our fan base. We need to figure out who Elks Nation is, who Northern Alberta football fans are, and we need to connect with them, and we need to go after them, and we need to engage them. And we need to figure out a way to get the 50,000+ people that used to be in these stands back here engaged with what we want to do, our mission, and what we want to accomplish as a team. It's not easy to build things. And if you don't have a foundation, if you don't have something strong to build it on, you're not going to be successful. We will build this thing around integrity. When you talk to the Edmonton Elks, you will know that when they say something, it will get done. And when it's hard and when it's tough and when things aren't going well, you will be able to count on us to make sure that we did what we said we were going to do. And that will radiate through the community, and that will radiate through our organization, where people who work here will feel that. They will know that they will be looked after. They will know that if they do their job, they will know if they do it our way, the way that we look after each other and the way that we protect each other, that they will be safe here. We will build it around passion. We will build it around passion. We will have people here who care. We will have people here who love this game and everything it does for the people who play it and for the community. I've coached kids for my entire life, whether it be a helmet, whether it be a flag belt, and goes on to the field, and the first time experiences being part of something bigger than them. That kids feel for it is the passion we as an organization from top to bottom need to share. We need to love this game and what it does for our community. And we need to make sure that we understand that it's our responsibility to carry that forward. Passion is a part of our foundation. I promise you, the revolving door is over. The revolving door that's existed at every level of this organization, from the president's office to the players on the field, where you've got 10,000 extra lockers in here, because the beginning of the year, you got to cut 10 guys after 5 weeks, after 3 weeks, that is now over. We will build consistency here so that we can build a sense of family. I played here 14 years and we never missed the playoffs. The one year we got in trouble, we had 25 lockers in here and we were running through guys. You cannot win that way in this sport. Football's a tough sport. You need to have people who you can count on. You have to have people who you can rely on. And you cannot have that if you've got disposable people coming through your building. We will change that. The revolving door is over. The last thing I want to talk about from a foundation standpoint is innovation. I came here 32 years ago, maybe even more than that, with a gym bag and a bat full of clothes. And that's all I had. And when I got here, I met some incredible people. I met Hugh Campbell. I met Ron Lancaster. I met Bill McDermott. I met Rod Conop, who's standing in the back right now. And they knew how to win. They had something called the Eskimo Way. And I'm going to say this to you because the Eskimo Way is used so many times in so many different ways. I'm going to say this to all of you. We need to use that as a pathway forward. We need to use it as our foundation. But we need innovative people that aren't going to use that as an excuse to not do something new and inventive. We need out-of-the-box thinkers that are going to figure out ways to be better on the field, better in the boardroom, and to get some people on the stands. What we've done right now, we need to get better at, and we need to think of different solutions. So innovation is going to be a big part of this. With those foundational pieces in mind, with the core values I've just talked to you about, we are going to start moving forward with the work. The first piece of work we have here is to get our football operations team in place. G-Roy, Jarius, they've done a wonderful job resurrecting what was an awful season to start the year. They will be strongly considered moving forward. However, we owe this city and we owe everyone associated with Elks football to find the best football mind to take over our franchise. This might be G-Roy, but we are going to look and we are going to have an intensive search to make sure we identify and find the person that's right for us. And the number one thing we're going to base that decision on are the core values I just talked to you about. We are going to do it right. We are going to bring consistency back to here. If you look at a timeline for what we're going to do, we're going to start interviewing general manager candidates immediately. Starting on Monday, we're going to start looking at putting interviews together with general managers that are available. We have some limitations around who we can talk to until the Grey Cup takes place. By the time the Grey Cup takes place on the 17th, there might only be one or two people left that we want to talk to. The 17th is the last day that their competitive football is being played. The 24th is the deadline that I'm setting for myself to have a general manager in place for this team. There is a timeline that we will follow. After the 24th, once we have a general manager, that person will be very much in charge of finding our staff. The only limitation will be that we will build our staff on the same core values I just talked to you about. And that general manager will fit with those core values and they will build around that. And we will build a strong team on a strong foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, I am excited beyond what I can explain to you to be here. This is a tremendous responsibility, and I promise you, there's not another person in this country that takes this more personally than I do. This is a personal thing for me. I love this place. I never really left here, and I am ecstatic to be back. I just want to get to work. Thank you.
Chris, congratulations. Talked to you many times over the years, but that word connectivity that you used, is that with the fans to try to get that back, is that one of your biggest challenges, your biggest hurdles?
Absolutely. Like at one point in time, everybody connected with Edmonton Double E football. At one point in time, everybody in the city, I used to go out as a player and people knew who we were. People loved the team. We need to find that group again. I don't know whether anybody does. And I think it's our job as an organization to seek out who is in team where 3/4 of it turns over every year. Who are you going to identify with? You tell me another sports franchise that has as much turnover as we've had in the last few years. You can't build that way. And that continuity is going to allow our fans to find something that they can connect with. And I think that's going to go a long way to get things right.
I'm Rashad with TSN. Maybe just give us a thought on how the experience that you've had running the program over the last number of years, will help you on the executive front. Because clearly, how to be a player and impassioned, but there's a whole other side. And what have you learned to prepare for that?
Yeah, I think most of my administrative and business background comes from being a principal. So I was a teacher for half of my football career here. I taught full time at Emmy Lizard, which is a high school in the North End here. When I retired from here, I became an assistant principal, and I was a principal of the most disadvantaged inner city high school or the junior high school in Edmonton. Okay, so during that process, the amount of administrative things you need to do with a staff that has to not just cater to kids who have regular learning needs, to a staff that has to deal with profound learning disabilities, to doing the detailed work around getting them assessed and getting that coding done, to all the detailed budget work that goes associated with that, that's a part of it. The other part is getting those kids fed and raising money to have a lunch program and raising money to do those things. So that's all part of my background. I have an extensive administrative background. When I was at the University of Alberta, there's 3 people that work at the University of Alberta. Laval has like 12. So like the administrative things that I had to do at that school around raising money, around our camp system that we created. When I got there, we had a camp system that generated $30,000 a year. We generated $860,000 last year with our camp system, all of which went back to scholarships. So I have extensive administrative background. I just need to learn the lay of the land here. And I'm excited to do that because I think it's a very, very unique challenge.
Jerry Montajon, Post Media. Chris, do you subscribe to the idea of a shared role of GM and head coach, as we've seen more and more lately to varying degrees of success in this league?
Yeah, I think that's something that you need to be really, really careful when you're talking to the general manager you're hiring. And I think if you find the right general manager, whatever model they feel works best, as long as it fits in with the way we want to do business here, I think that's what you go with. To me, it's people. You find the best person you have, and then whatever model they want to use, I think you go with that. And I don't think I could give you a generic answer for it because I think every leader is different and everybody wants to interact with people differently. There's some guys who just I want to be in charge, I want to do everything, but not everybody's that way. Okay?
Since 2019. And what you talked about, this revolving door, I lost count of number of quarterbacks since 2019, position players. What was that like watching this as an alumni, as a person on the Ring of Honor, watching this over the last 5 years?
You know what's really hard is that when I was here, and I see several of my former teammates here, we were a family here that we cared for. There's no chance that could be in place right now. There might be a few people who know each other and are friends, but the long term, the ability to hold people for a long term and to have them grow together and to have them come together as a family and as a team is what makes football teams special. And I'll challenge you to, like, who wins the Grey Cup every year? Who's in charge? Who's at the top of the league every year? It's the teams who have consistency and the teams who have players who have played together, and the teams who have players played together for years. And it's not just the players; it's the office staff. In order to be good at something, nobody works in isolation. Everybody works together, and everybody makes each other better. And if you have that kind of an organization, you're going to be successful. You can't do that with revolving pieces, and that's what needs to end. And I'm so convinced that that's 85% of the problem here. That we're going to address that, and it's going to be the first thing we do.
Chris, Jacob LeBlanc with Windspeaker Media. The announcement when Larry Thompson came onto the organization had a similar aura to what you're bringing right now. A lot of passion, a lot of energy. Larry brings that perspective from the fan side because he was a season ticket holder for a long time watching you play. So you bring that perspective from the player aspect. How are you and Larry going to collaborate to really work together on solving these problems, player side? And again, we've seen it, attendance issues over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I'm going to say this about Larry and Deb Thompson. So when I initially went to interview for this job, when I was initially called down, Rick called me down to talk to me. And I honestly thought I was going to a meeting where they were going to cut our 50-50 money or something because I was at the University of Alberta at the time, right? So I went down there ready to fight. And he was like, he started talking a little bit about leadership. And I was like, what do you think about leadership? What do you think about that? And then I was as shocked. I still look on some of your faces. I was as shocked as all you guys when he initially said, I think you should throw your hat in, your name in the hat for the presidency job. What made me understand that I could do this job was meeting Larry and Deb. They care about the core values I've just told you about are exactly who they are as people. They purchased this franchise for this community. They don't need to be doing this. They love this. They love what they're doing. They want to help this community, and we need other people to feel the same way about it. It's the same thing I was talking about, the piece of passion that I was talking about. That's what we need to get into, and we need to find a way to make people feel passionate about Edmonton Elks football again. So I'm very much in line with Larry and Deb. I honestly feel such a sense of gratitude to them, and I feel like I just want to make sure I don't let them down because they've taken a chance on me and they've invested in me, and I am just so excited to get to work for them.
Rick, I just wanted to ask you a question as well. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but maybe you could just kind of speak to it, why you felt Chris is the right person for this job. Obviously, he's got an extensive football background, but in terms of front office, professionally not there. Why did you think he's the right person for this job?
I've known Chris for a long number of years, and when he played in this locker room, and then he actually became a principal, and my brother was a mentor to him, who was a principal. He's always been a leader. He's a leader in the locker room, and he's a leader in high school, and he's a leader at the U of A. And you just see the passion that he's got. That was key to me. And yeah, he pretty much fell off his chair the day we had lunch, and I asked him if he'd be interested in throwing his hat in the ring. But we're so glad that he did, and we've had a long time now, for the last month or so, of spending a lot of time together. And Larry and Deb and myself are absolutely convinced that he's the right person for this position.
Chris, Jay from Edmonton Sports Talk. How did we end up here? I mean, you've talked about it a bit, but can you expand on the process of when you were first approached, how long it's been, and how extensive these meetings have been with the ownership group?
Yeah, it was a very extensive process. So the first meeting I had with Rick was just generally around would I be interested in taking a look at the position. Then I met with Larry and Deb's executive team along with Rick, just around what I thought my visioning for this project would be. Then there was a subsequent meeting around a business plan and a 100-day plan and what would happen from the moment I arrived till basically January and February. Then after that, there was an in-person meeting with Larry, Deb, and their whole team. And I went through, again, my business plan and all the things that I wanted to accomplish with that. Then there was another follow-up meeting with that where they went through a personality profile. And they talked about, okay, here are the things that we think you're good at, all those different things. So it was very, very extensive. I have no idea who else interviewed for the process, but I can tell you this, it was quite a bit of work to be prepared and be on point for all the questions and all the things that they wanted to talk to. It was easy for me because I care so much about this place. Like I really do feel like I feel indebted to this place from when I was here and the things I learned while I was here. And I think that's a big part of this for me is I just desperately want to give back to this place. And I'll, whatever it takes to make that happen, I'm willing to do.
Chris, what about leaving U of A? How tough is that for you? What do you say to the players? And maybe branch off on that. I'll have a re-ask depending on how you answer here.
Yeah, when you spend 12 years somewhere and you recruit kids and you have them from the time they're 17 until they're 24 years old, you build some pretty good relationships. So I had my final team meeting yesterday with them. There were a lot of tears. There was a lot of hugs, a lot of, we really care about each other there. We built a culture there where we can count on each other. So it was a really hard day. The hardest thing for me was like the day ended and then there's 50 kids lined up to come into my office and they want to hug and cry. And I'm just like, oh my God, just please let this end, right? Because the relationships we built there and the relationships that exist in that program, we always talked about brotherhood. And we have a brotherhood there. We have people who care about each other, who want to play for each other, who are in it together. So that it was very, very hard. And I'll be honest with you, there's one job in the world I would have left U of A to come to. And this is it. One. I've been approached for other university programs. I've been approached for a lot of things. This is the one thing I would have left for, and I'm sad, and I feel almost like I've let some of those kids down because I just recruited them last year, but this is an opportunity of a lifetime for me, and I there's no possible way I could turn it down.
So building a championship program here, way different than at the university level. What do you take from there? Because you had some close chances to reach goals that you failed to do, but what do you take from there that now you wanted to achieve here at this level?
Yeah, I think it's very, very different there. And I'm going to say this to you, okay? So your version and your vision of what excellence looks like at the university level for football isn't mine. Okay, we had a 97% graduation rate. Half our team were academic All-Canadians. We were in the top 10. We had a million things going from a cultural standpoint with our kids that made them connected, made them part of something special. We were one of the best teams in the country as well. To me, success there was a combination of all those different things. And when I think back to my time at the University of Alberta, I'll think of those kids, how connected they felt, how great they were both on and off the field, the service, the growth, the excellence that we did there together. I have a great deal of pride in. You have to understand that the University of Alberta coaching job is an all-encompassing job. There's 2 staff members there. There's 11 at Laval. There's 7 at several of the other U Sports schools, several other Can West schools. You don't have a team of administrators to work with you like you do here. I feel like almost in a way I'm going back to school where I have some weapons to work with, some people I can count on and I can share things with. When you've got 2 assistant coaches and you're playing against teams who have 8, you can imagine what the workload looks like. You share it a little bit, but you're doing a whole bunch of things, so you're running the circus. I don't need to do that here. I need to delegate, I need to talk, I need to share the vision, I need to facilitate other people's success for this to work. And I feel very strongly that I can do that.
Chris, you talked about the core values that are basically the starting point for your decisions moving forward, and a lot of those are drawn from when you were part of this organization. In your search for people to put in place, former teammates, former people who have been part of this, did they naturally have a bit of an advantage because they'll understand that maybe in a different way? Or can people from the outside grasp this in the same way, do you think?
Yeah, and I think when you look at it, I'm going to say this, to be honest with you, not everybody who played here with me embraced our core values. We had some guys here, there's good, there's bad, and there's ugly on every single team you're ever going to be associated with, right? There's some people who really got it and understood it, and that was the core of all those teams we played on. So the people who are at the core people, of course, are going to gravitate naturally to what we want to do here and what we want to accomplish. But there's other teams who have played with excellence as well. There's several teams around the CFL who approach things the same way. I don't think to the same level that we did back in the day when we were here, but I do think those things are valued by certain people, and those core values are important to some people. Some people just say they are, but for some people it's really important. And my job is to figure out who really means that these things are important to them and who's just saying it to get through an interview.
That we can do some scrums and one-on-ones, but we thank everybody for joining us, sir. Thank you.
And we're back here on EST Afternoons. Joaquin Gage, Hernan Salas, as they just wrapped up the press conference for the Edmonton Elks' new president and CEO, Chris Morris. Gager, I want to run through a freaking wall right now listening to Chris Morris. Holy smokes.
I had to take this guy, pull him down from pulling a helmet off. He was about to put it on in pads and start doing stuff. It was a great passion in that press conference. It wasn't dull at all. It was my first one I've ever been to, but no, it was very encouraging, I think. And you know what I took from there was a couple things that Chris Morris said, but the one thing that struck me most was the phrase of revolving doors ending. And you should have. I wish you could have seen the people, the people that work here, right? So I was sitting behind, and I saw all the people, and all these head nods, yes,
and
yes.
looking at each other,
and looking. Yeah, they were all everyone that worked here, and I'm not sure the positions, but they were all looking in each other's eyes and going, It was exactly what they wanted to hear, and that is that's something else that within the first 10-15 minutes of him speaking, he's already got everyone else in the other side of the organization behind and looking forward to his vision of what the Edmonton Elks will be.
There's 2 players, Matt O'Donnell, Justin Sorensen, who were here. They won championships here. They're not that old. They're in the only maybe 10 years ago or something like that. And just looking at them, we even got a woo from a forward player. It was just unreal. The the excitement and the energy in that room. And I know all the staff here, and I'm looking at them too. I'm trying to get that vibe. And Gager was right. Like, everybody was just so pumped up and through it. And listen, I totally get what he said. He said the revolving door stops right now. I was here in 2022. We went through over, like, it was close to 120 players.
Oh gosh.
So he was saying, like, how do you build a family?
Yeah.
How do you build a culture when all these things are going around, right? Like, and you're moving, and you have to bring in extra lockers, and you got to do this. Sorry, I'm just getting confirmation for Chris Morris here. And so I agree with that. And what I liked was not only in football in terms of players, but up here in the offices. We all got to become one.
Yeah.
I thought that was fantastic. For someone who was here for 2.5 years and saw everything that happened. And like I said, there's great people here in this organization. And it's true. You can't build a team, Gager, and you played pro sports with making 20 moves every month and bringing in new guys. How do you build something?
You can't. It doesn't feel like what Christmas. It's a family, right? And I liked his response to the question about the business side of professional sports. Look, my other side of the family, my wife's side of the family, they're all teachers.
Yeah.
Her dad was a principal for 40 years here in Edmonton. To hear those types of stories, how he had to manage people, students, get budgets, all these things.
Rough school too.
Yeah. And so was my father-in-law. I right then, because to be perfectly honest, that's where my hesitate. Oh, what is that going to look like? After he laid out what his prior experience, obviously it's a little bit different, but it's not like he hasn't done something like this ever before. He'll be able to, I believe, hit the ground running and be able to take in that type of information and get everything right. Just because I've heard the horror stories of being a principal and what they have to deal with. This should be a cakewalk, actually. Hearing some of my father-in-law's stories.
I'm quitting. I'm coming back.
I know. I guess it's just me in the afternoons, 1 to 3 now.
Someone put on the nasty chat, aren't you part of the revolving door?
I know. I didn't want to say it, buddy. Whatever.
But listen, I left on good terms. I love everybody here. It was great to experience the pro team, and I'm very happy for everybody here. I was just telling the HR girl for the Edmonton Elks, Michelle, she walked us up because we need a pass. And I said, I'm so happy for you guys because everybody here deserves it. They take a lot of unnecessary heat. And one day, yes, this stadium will be full again. I think Chris Morris is going to lead the charge in that. And look, it might not be 50, 60,000 because that's not realistic in the CFL landscape because you look at places like Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, attendance is down everywhere. Well, maybe not Winnipeg, but everywhere else. So it's not just an Edmonton problem, it's a CFL problem. So I'm very, very happy. A few notable things also. He said Giroy, Simon, and Jarius Jackson did a great job turning this team around in the second half of the season because they did. They won 7 games. He said they would be strongly considered for the positions, but he is going to do an extensive search here, and they're going to start meeting with general managers first on Monday, and he wants to have the new GM in place by November 24th. He gave an exact date, Gage.
Yeah, that was ambitious, I think, at best, which is good. You want your leaders, you want concise decisions, right? You want that information quick. No, I mean, like he said, they did an admirable job of getting this team back and winning some football games. But I think in that case, going into these meetings for future positions with this team, you kind of what you've done in the past can't matter, right? So you have to look at them on a fresh slate, but also saying that, and Dustin Nielson alluded to it too, this team has struggled. And all that meeting taught me was a guy looking for a different culture. And I just don't think taking a step back with the same personnel matches what we just heard.
You played on a lot of teams, Gager. Oh, like I know.
We
always talk about culture, okay? And, I played sports, but never at any high level. But if you played with a bunch of buddies, there was always a good vibe. You always won together, or even if you lost, but it was closeness. How important is the culture in that room?
It's everything. The most fun year I ever had playing hockey was the team I played on with Team Canada. And so we went all over the world playing in tournaments, and the Spengler and the Vestiaire Baltica and Sweden hockey games, all those tournaments. And it's funny because we would go on these trips to go to different countries to play, and everyone had kind of it's basically an American Hockey League attitude where you're kind of individuals. You're just seeing who's going to take the next step, how much ice time. I gotta get ready. And we actually had a meeting. Our captain at the time said, "Look, guys, no one's going anywhere this year. We're all here for the season, and the only way we can get back to where we want to be is if we play as a team." And right then it was a big switch for everybody. Yeah. And we all knew we were going to stay there. And obviously it was just for 1 year. But that's the type of culture you want. Everyone on board. Like, I do well, you do well, he does well. Yeah. Everyone does well. And that's actually listening to him. That's the first thing that came to mind was that season, that realization that, look, it's everyone's pulling on the same chain.
Yeah, no, it's great. And you need that. And we had Jamin Pelly, and we were talking about this past year, and the room was pretty good. Mm-hmm. It can always improve, Gage. And I'm being honest because I was in there. Like, there was a lot of good leaders, good people. You're never going to have 60 guys that are all together. Or there's always the guys that worry about themselves. There's always the guys that don't really care about anything. And that's just a team. But it's if the majority of your core is good, I think you're good. And like
because
I said,
it eliminates those guys too. Yeah. There's always
they weed themselves out.
So there's always a few guys on a team with poopy pants, right? And they love to complain. And misery always loves company. So if you have another one, they're just sitting in the corner bitching to each other about stuff. But if you can get a core group of people that have the right vision, that team kind of respect for one another, it weeds out those guys. Shouldn't say weed out. It allows the complainers to come into the circle, and really they want to be part of that.
Yeah, exactly. So like you said, there's a lot of good pieces here. They got to bring a few back that are free agents, but you have a lot of good pieces. Jared on the inbox says, what's the title of the first guy that talked? That's Evan Daum, VP of Marketing and Fan Engagement. That's my good buddy. This Sully says, Chris Morris just bought me back to the Elks. Wow, the Liquid Beaver says, Chris Morris is fired up. I was impressed, and I don't impress easily. LOL. Get Bill Belichick, says Corey B. He's alive, Rip City. What's he referring? Oh, about Dusty.
No.
Dusty. And then the nasty chat is just going crazy. Everybody's very happy with what they heard from Chris Moore. You know what I like what he said? There's been 5 presidents here in the last 8 years where he goes, they've all said the same thing, but I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah.
And because everybody talks culture, everybody talks this and that, but you have to do it. And if you didn't get a sense that he is going to do it, then I don't know what to tell you, but I got a sense. And like you said, not just the former players and the staff that were down there. Look at the media's face. Everybody was kind of like, holy.
And I don't want to make this sound arrogant. Play sports at higher levels. There's a microcosm of how businesses work, right? And when you have people that have been successful in that area, you look outside when professional athletes who are champions to go to some businesses are so enthused to have someone like that because they know they work well with people. They know that they're dedicated to their profession. And I'm not saying everyone else is. I know there's people, you don't have to play sports to be dedicated to your profession, but just the amount of time that you've worked together with different individuals, different personalities, working towards a common goal. I think that's important. I think hiring a former player with the organization that's had an extremely amount of success Yeah, I mean, it's funny because he won me over in that press conference.
I mean, I like this one from Nubian One. I feel like I need to quit my job to work for Chris.
I already got my resume pumped up here. This is great.
Smokes. Let's see what else do we got here. What are Elks fans' thoughts on VA at QB instead of for next season, or it's for the must to have back? For me, I think you can spend that money elsewhere where it's needed, and you have a guy, and like you said, he doesn't want to do these short-term little succession plans. He wants long-term. Trey Ford comes in next year. Let's just say they sign him to a 3-year deal. We're speculating here. And he has his ups and downs in year one, but at least you know what you have.
Yep.
Because right now, like Dusty said when we had him on in the first hour, we don't know what we have.
Still.
Like, he still looked good. He still won the most games in the last 3 years, 9.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you have to take that into consideration. And I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued about who's going to be the GM. Obviously, he has a lot of connections, former players. He's been around. He mentioned that some guys are going to be off limits until after the Grey Cup because the Grey Cup's handed out. That's why he gave the deadline. He goes, 17th, football's done, and then we can possibly meet with whoever's in the finals. So it's going to be interesting to see. But, yeah, we want to hear from you. Reed Wilkins show is coming up at 3 with Jay Milne. They'll go 3 to 5. And then 5 to 6, it's the All Stream pregame show. We're waiting on Chris Morris. Mike Curry, their media guy, told me he should be up here shortly to chat with Joaquin and I. So we might have to dip in just into a little bit of the Reed show. If not, if it's too long, then we'll get him on to the Reed show as well. But what did you think? It seems everybody loved this. It seems like everybody was going to bring him back. That doesn't want to come back, right, Gager? But it's just the energy you brought. You see the passion. You see why when he was a player, he was feared. He was rough and tough on the gridiron.
Yeah, no, it was really neat meeting him. Here's a guy who, it seemed like when he got called in for the meeting, not knowing that it was kind of the meeting, and saying, you should throw your hat in the ring. And that was right after the questions about leadership.
Yeah.
And so here you have a guy that's and what did Dustin Nielson say? Yeah, that's the first thing he mentioned about Morris, his leadership capabilities of what he was able to see at the collegiate level, at the U Sports level, just there, right?
And that's almost a tougher job because not only in university, Gage, are you coaching football, you're making sure their grades are up, you're making sure they're attending class, you're making sure they're behaving when they're out as just civilians.
So this is another thing of the professional side of the management side. Like he's no stranger to this. I'm I guess the word would be impressed of this hire. It's funny. Obviously, there's a long road ahead here, right? But I think it's for the first time for a lot of people that have been from Eskimos to Elks fans. I think this is after the last 3 seasons here. I think there is cause to be a lot more excited for the start of training camp, for the start of the season next year. This is I'm already kind of looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be we've been saying it for months. It's going to be a fascinating offseason no matter where you win.
Well, just what he said with we're not going to have 300 guys in camp too, right? Like it's going to be, and I think there's something to that. I was always. I remember when I first came to like Oilers camps, we'd have like 90 guys in camp. Right, it was just people everywhere. And then when some teams a lot more, cycled down and just building that kind of that family atmosphere, especially, it's different than hockey. There's that camaraderie I mean, it's sports, but it's a different sport altogether.
Yeah, because at camp you have 90 guys, right? Because you start with rookie camp and then you cut it down from there. And then the guys that make it get invited to the main camp. And it's a lot. It's a grind. And like you said, it's completely different than an NHL camp. The most you have is 40, 50.
Well, now, So it's completely different.
It's completely different. Maddie's standing outside the door. I don't think he can come in. I don't know. Okay. Maddie, you can come in. Oh, can you open the door?
Oh, jeez.
That's why he's standing out there. The door was locked. But yeah, Chris Morris, very impressive. Maddie, would you like to jump in on with us? Yeah, because that was we were pretty impressed. I mean, I said it off the hop, Maddie. I want to run through a wall right now. That
was exactly what was said downstairs.
I've just handed in my resignation to EST. No, but what stood out to you the most from Chris Morris? We talked about the culture talk. We talked about the revolving door. We talked about his deadline for a GM.
Yeah, no, it's what stood out. There's a lot to actually, like, it's almost like so much happened that I'm trying to piece which part, right? Like, this was good, but this was good. Like, he answered all my questions that I was thinking of that I wanted to answer. Like when he talked about the business, bringing up being an administrator and being a principal and all that stuff that you have to deal with, and being at, you know, one of the, you know, not the highest school and stuff. And there's a lot of extra issues that he had to deal with. You know, my dad was a principal and I saw it like firsthand. I didn't even think of that, but the extra stuff you're dealing with and that business side of it. So, you know, obviously we knew we talked about it before the press conference, you know, that there was a lot in the football side, but where's that little extra business? And he had that. So that was really,
and he'll learn.
Absolutely. Well, but then the other part he added, which I think is very important, is he mentioned the delegation. Yeah. And like I find, you know, often when you have these presidents, it's not so much they're doing the work, it's they're hiring the right people and letting them do the work and just making sure everyone's getting their things done. And the fact that he talks about delegation, that's important. You know, you don't want too many cooks in a kitchen. You don't want to be over, you know,
know your role.
You know your role, know where you are on the org chart. Like, I'm glad no one asked him today about Trey Ford, because that's not his decision.
No.
Ultimately, like when you have a proper organization, do I want Trey Ford to be here? Absolutely. Straight up.
Yeah.
But
me too.
He needs to go hire a GM. That GM needs to make the decision on who his quarterback is. You don't come in and talk about, because that's jumping. That's the GM's job. Mm-hmm. And so him talking about delegation, I was very happy to hear. That wasn't a stereotypical like presidential introduction or anything. Like, you don't get that. That was very off the cuff almost. But that's who Chris Morris is. Because we were talking down afterwards, Rashog, Jay, and JMO and I, and it was like one of those things that reminds me when he was hired as like the Golden Bears football coach. That was the same passion you got. And you want, like, I remember Dusty talking to him like on 1260, and Dusty's like, I'm ready to go play for this guy. I'm ready to sign up and play. Like, I'm going to go play for this guy.
You didn't hear Dusty was like, you know what? I think I have a few more years of eligibility.
Yes. And so it's like, that was like, that's what you got again today. So it's a very personal, passionate guy. And I think if you are a fan of the Double E, you know, this is a guy that you should be excited about that is running this. You know, as I said before, you haven't had a true football guy running the football operations of this team since 2006. But you got a guy who cares. And he said it right at the very end. I think one other thing that, you know, point to is that there was only one job he's leaving the U of A for. It was something. It was the Elks president job. I hadn't heard it, but he said that he's been approached for other universities. But there's only one job he's leaving the U of A for, and it was this one. And that's because this guy's passionate. This is a guy from Toronto who has made Edmonton his home for how many years now? You know?
And I was talking to Gager, but like I was here in 2022, 2023, and the revolving door. And for me, Maddie, I was looking at staff members that are still here, and we saw it, Gager saw it too, and everybody's looking at each other going, you know, like, let's go. Like, and he's right about building a culture and a family. You can't do it when you're bringing in 10 players every month, right?
Well, and it's both sides too. It's players and staff.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Like, and if you want to talk about the business part of this, it's also the business, and you know that very well from, you know, your 2.5 years by the time you left to come join us.
Yeah.
You weren't low on that or the seniority.
No,
right?
I was one of the more senior guys.
Exactly. And that with all due respect, that's a problem because you're only there for 2.5 years. And this isn't like EST. There's only like I'm a year and a half at EST. Yeah, we've only been around for a year and a half. It wasn't that. You know, when you have this, you to have proper business even running, to do the right things that way, you can't have the turnover that was created more notably by a prior president of this team. But you can't have that. So like the fact that he recognizes that from both, that you can't have, you know, the guy who's replacing you right now, Michael Curry, having to send out a new press release every single day, or having to have constant changes in the business. That you can't have any of that if you're going to be a successful organization.
Well, I think it was this January, my good buddy Brian Swain, who used to work here too, I think we sent out a release for a new player in January almost every day of the week. And he was counting, he's like 18 straight days.
Wow.
Now, that's the off season. It's a little bit different. You're bringing in as many guys as you can, and then you kind of cut from there. But the Scalding Gore texted in, and he said, we heard this from past presidents that got hired, VCs, all that. But for me, like, this was different for me. It had a different aura to it. It had a different. It just felt different. Chris Morris even said it. He goes, "Every president's said it before me, but I'm going to make sure it happens." He almost, you're lucky no one was Dom was standing. He probably would have punched him out.
The difference is one is like, well, this guy though has been here. Like he knows exactly what this is.
Yeah.
And what that is, you can't really put into words. You just have to know that.
Yeah.
And he knows that. So you got that. One, he's proven it from a football level at the U of A. And I loved when he was asked the question about, or I think Harris was bringing up the question and kind of mentioned, failures. And Chris's response was, your failures aren't like we have different definitions.
Yeah.
And he immediately pointed to 97% graduation rate.
Yeah.
So for him, for what his goal was of the U of A, he was extremely successful.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was beyond successful. So he has that success there. So, but yeah, I think Chris knows this, and hopefully we can get him on soon here.
Yeah.
But the words are great. Words are awesome. Great. It's the action.
Yes.
It's actually getting it done. I like the fact that he just outlined his timeline for the GM.
Yeah. So let's get to that. I told Gager, I was like, he said, CFL's done on the 17th. Grey Cup will be presented. We're done. There might be someone he's interested in that's playing in that game, so he's going to give it to the 24th. And I love that he gave a deadline.
At the end. That's a deadline.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have it sooner.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But this is how I'm going about it. I'm going to get this done. And so now I think that tells us we're not going to hear a GM announcement prior to Grey Cup.
No, because then there's that 10-day period.
Well,
the CFL doesn't want any team announcing information.
Well, and I'm assuming that based on who we project to be in the Grey Cup, there's going to be someone there that Chris will want to speak to.
Yeah, it's let the speculation begin, I guess, right? And he did mention, though, he said, I don't know if I brought this up with you. I brought it up with Gager. He did say G. Roy and Jarius Jackson will be strongly considered, and he thinks they did an excellent job in the second half of the season, Matty. So he's obviously going to meet with them as well. They're part of the interview process.
Yeah,
and that's the way you're supposed to do it.
Yeah, I would assume those interviews are going to happen. Well, G. Roy gets the interview.
Yes.
G. Roy gets, not Jarius. Yeah. Because G. Roy or the GM would hire Jarius.
But I would think he would still talk to Jarius.
I might, but it's not for the head coaching job. Because as he laid it out there, it's the GM is going to be the lead.
Yeah.
And the guy hiring the head coach. So you can't have those conversations until you know who your GM is. So that's where your conversation with Jarius is, we got to have, we got to first figure out our GM and then the GM, because the GM has to have the majority of that decision making. That's the delegation that he pointed to. So this is, it's an exciting day. It's an exciting hire. It's an inspired hire. It's one that I don't think any of us were expecting. Chris Morris throughout this entire time.
We even got a yell or a woo from someone. And was that you or Jay Mills?
That was Trent Brown.
Yeah.
From James H. Brown, Alberta Injured Lawyers.
Well, they must have played together, right?
Brown. He was they would have been together on the 93 Grey Cup team.
Cool. That's great. No, this is good, man. This is I'm excited for these guys. This is like you said, what you saw with the people, what you saw with them making eye contact and going, yes, this is where it should be. This is where it should go.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive. Very impressive. And it is just words, and I understand that. But they were the right words.
Yeah. And I was telling him, I was looking at Matt O'Donnell, Justin Sorensen, and a few other cats down there, Matty, and they were all they were ready to put the pads back on. Just run out there. Matty, it's 2:56. You're the big boss that Dusty's still home with the flu. Should we just get out at 3 and then we'll see if we can get Chris Morris for
Well, yeah, I'm about to just text the group here and all of that.
Let me get in.
We just got to see how much longer we're thinking this is going to be. If we're still going to be a bit, then we might as well go throw to Reed. Otherwise, if we know it's going to be in the next couple minutes.
Well, I don't want to make Reed mad.
No.
Right?
Yeah. Reed's ready to go. He's like a pit bull in a cage.
I love the turnout. Lots of media.
Yeah.
The way it should be. There's a lot of coaches there. I saw a few, which was great to see. Say hi to a few of them. I was able to see G-Roy earlier on today. I had a good conversation with him. He's an absolute beauty. Most of the coaches are still here, so we're just waiting on. I just sent Mike Curry, the Elks PR guy, a message, so hopefully we have something here. Just so, yeah, we'll keep going with it. But Gager, Chris Morris. Hey, it was your first press conference.
Yeah, no, that's the first time I've been in that situation. I was excited. Obviously, it was a big day. From yesterday in the newsroom to today, it's kind of cool to be on the other side of these things. Again, just seeing the amount of press that we saw, it was encouraging. This is a big deal.
Chris Morris is on his way.
Okay, then we'll hold off on this, and then when this is done, we'll cut into Reed and Jay's show. So Reed and Jay, apologies. Double. Well, less work for them today, I guess, in the sense.
Well, Adam Zeal says nobody ever wants to see Reed mad.
No, we don't. But he gets a shorter show. He's off for an extra hour because of Oil Stream GCL Diesel. GCL Diesel Oil Stream. I got those backwards. And then we'll have Chris Morris on here.
Perfect. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. The big guy's going to come up here, and I got to say that's the most intense presser I've seen for a president in a very long time. Like I was pretty I was even pumped up for everybody here. As a player, when you see that, you got to be pretty pumped too, Gager.
Yeah, like you want enthusiasm throughout the whole everybody. Definitely not a stuffy president. He has a presence about him so I think that helps in a way. To see the support from former teammates was really cool. That dressing room, the Elks, that's the first time I've ever been in there. That reeks of history.
Yes,
right? Like
100%.
So you walk in there and it was like, wow, this is seeing the names that I recognize, even though I was more of a Lions guy back in the day. It was like, wow, I remember some of these names and just get it back to where it was, where they were the cream of the crop. They were the standard of the CFL.
They were the evil empire.
Yeah.
They were the Yankees. They were the evil empire.
Yeah.
People hated this franchise.
Yeah.
They hated the
I hated them.
around
They had the
CFL.
most money. They got every free agent, and they won.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just nice. And like you said, the dressing room's got the old kind of the glass photos and all that. Oh, here we go.
I will.
I'll get out.
Okay.
I gotta go anyway. Congratulations again. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
We will pass this off. Start speaking.
Yes, as we're joined by. Sorry, we just making a transition here. Got lost in the.
You can't leave it as full silence there, Hernan.
As we're joined now by the new president and CEO of the Edmonton Elks, Chris. That was a great press conference. A lot of our listeners are pretty excited. There was a lot of energy, a lot of intensity in that. Just can you speak on the process and how we ended up here today?
Yeah, it started a couple months ago, and Rick called me and wanted to meet. I was the coach at University of Alberta at the time, and we depend heavily on 50-50 money. And usually when the president from the Elks calls you, it's not good news. So I went to the meeting and I was like, okay, I'm get ready to fight. Let's see what happens. I stand up for my guys, and he started talking about leadership. And then I thought, okay, well, he wants to talk about the president job, like he wants to see who I think should be the president. And then I started talking about some possibilities. And then he was like, well, what about you? And I was like, well, Rick, if you can sell that, there's a million things I could do that I think are very, very positive for that organization. But my skill sets, I can change cultures. I can get people going in the right direction. I know how to fix an organization from that standpoint. I'm not an accountant and I'm not a lawyer. So you have to decide whether you want someone like me or do you want someone who has those sort of credentials. Now, I have lots of experience with the business side of things, from building a very big camp system at the University of Alberta and working with a a very, very intricate inner city school with lots of kids that had special needs. So I have lots of experience with administration, but I understand that there's other people who would have applied for this job that would have checked that box off significantly better than I have. But I think where we are right now as an organization and the things that need to be corrected, I think that those things are strengths of mine. And I believe very, very strongly that I can get these things going in the right direction. And I will learn those other things. I will learn whatever it is that needs to take place in order for this organization to perform at a high level. I will make it my mission to make sure I get better at those things. And Rick's going to be around for a little bit to help me with that transition. And I'm really, really excited for the work moving forward here.
When did you first think that, this is a job that you'd be able to do and would take and move on to?
Yeah, I think honestly it was the first meeting with Larry and Deb, and just listening to them and talking with them about and understanding their sort of vision and the way they felt about this franchise and the way they felt about this community and just the type of people they are. They're just such good people. They're here to help. They want this place to be a special thing for Northern Alberta. They have no other reason to do this besides that. And they're in it for all the right reasons. And I so much appreciated being around such genuine people who wanted to do the right thing. And I envision myself trying to be that kind of person in my life. And I believe in all the things I talked about in regards to, doing things the right way and integrity and treating people in a way that they don't feel disposable and building continuity in organizations. And I think that's what's been missing from here. There's a lot of people who are going to say a lot of things are broken when you're not winning games, and it's pro football, and there's a lot of things happen when you're not very good anymore. They cut you when you get old, and it's a heartless business. But if you make it so that you're disposable, if you make it so that even when you're doing your job, you're not going to get the opportunity to improve, and you're not about player development, you're not about putting people in the best position to be successful, you're about removing anybody who makes a mistake. What you've created is a disposable culture. And that is, in my opinion, what's happened here, not just on the field, all the way up to the presidency, where there's, 5 guys in the last, I don't know how many years to do it. And if I hadn't have spoken with Deb and Larry and got such a great feeling about how they were going to do business, it would have been very, very difficult for me to walk away from where I was. And Larry and Deb are special people. And for me, I'm very, very excited to work with them and to try to bring their vision for what this should be to life.
When you talk about that revolving door, I'm going to look more to the football side of this. Is that a case of not bringing the right people, or not keeping this as a culture to want to keep people here with the Double E?
I think it's a very, very, very strong combination of both. I think when you bring people in who are self-serving, and I'm not going to say who those people were over the years. I'm not going to I wasn't here with them, so I don't really know. I think self-serving people tend to eliminate those who make mistakes because it makes them look bad. They feel, okay, I'm going to get somebody else who can do this, because they don't understand that everybody's working together on things. They don't understand that it's interdependence is what makes an organization great. So you start doing that once or twice, and then the people in the organization see that, and then people know that there is no way to know where I'm going to be safe. I don't know that if I do all the right things and work my hardest and do it right, that I'm going to be okay. If that, in the absence of that, people want to find that. People want to be part of something bigger than themselves. People want to be part of something where they feel part of an organization and part of a family. And if you don't provide that for them, they will go somewhere else to get it. And they've all gone to Winnipeg. I'll tell you that right now, because they have that there. They have a sense of family there. They have a sense of continuity. They have a sense of community. And we had that here for decades. And we used to laugh at other people who didn't have it. We used to just look at them and be like, oh my God, look at what these guys, like they're, and we need to get back to it. And to me, I know it sounds like an oversimplification to a lot of people. You need good people, and you need to let them work, and you need to encourage them, and you need to have them understand what you're going to stand for, and then you're going to be fine. And to me, it's now about building that process here.
Chris, you talked a lot in your presser about culture. In sports, you need it in the room. I was here for the 2.5 years. And culture is a big thing. For you, you said the previous 5 presidents have all said the same thing. Why is it different with you when you bring up, I'm going to change the culture here?
Yeah, and I don't know what lengths the other presidents went to change the culture. I don't know what they did. I don't know what steps they took. I don't know what their approach was. I know for me, my approach has always been, it's people first. It's getting to know people. It's building relationships. It's clearly defining what everybody's role is, and then giving them an opportunity to do their job, and then helping with them around corrections, and then making sure that they know they feel valued for what they're doing. I don't know that that's been the mandate of other presidents that have been here. I don't know. I do know that it certainly doesn't look like it from the outside, because the transiency, the turnover, all of that has just been rampant through here for many years. So that, to me, is an indication that that's not happening at the top, and those aren't messages that are being preached at the top. And to me, that is the part that we need to get going. That's the part we need to build around. And that's, to me, what made this place special when I got here. I always think of Marie. Marie used to answer the phones, and Shona used to run the community service, and they were all, my whole career they were here. And it's like, I don't know how many people have been to this organization for 14 years. I don't know how many there are in the front office right now who have been here for 14 years, but there were a bunch of them when I was here.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is the difference between a championship culture and somewhere that is just going through the days and trying to piece something together.
How exciting! You said your deadline for a new GM is going to be November 24th, a week after the Grey Cup is handed out. How exciting is it for you to go on this search now and interview possible candidates for the GM position, which is going to be another big hire for this organization?
Yeah, I'm just really excited to get to know these guys. Like, there's a lot of really talented people out there right now in the general manager position, not just in the general manager position, but in the assistant general manager position.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of people out there that I'm all about learning. Like, I love sitting down with people and figuring out how they do things and the way they think is the best way to do things and the way they things that don't work. And I am so excited to sit down with several people who are great at what they do and pick their brain around how things work and get an idea as to what they think is the best way to run an organization. And that, to me, is going to be, it's going to be a great way for me to identify the top candidate, but it's also going to be a great learning experience for me just to see all the different modes of leadership that exist.
Do you already have a list of people that you think you want to speak to? Because I know you said Monday you're going to get going. Do you have an idea? Or is Monday the day to kind of cultivate that list?
I have a list. I don't really want to make it public.
No, absolutely no.
Yeah,
but like you've got one.
Yeah, I have a very clear list. I know exactly who we're going to bring in. I know, like, it's I just haven't been able to reach out to anybody yet. I don't start till tomorrow. I don't have I don't even have an email address here yet. So
okay.
But
do you picked out an office yet?
Well, I have an office.
Okay.
But believe it or not, I have like 20 emails all written on my U of A account that I just have to send to. But I better send it from the right email address. So that's I got to get going on that.
I loved when you said your success, your level of failure is different with the U of A, and your success to me or to you wasn't the wins as much as also it's graduating and it was teaching people. What is level of success though for the Edmonton Elks?
Winning. Winning. Yeah, you win here. Like, this is pro football. You win games, and if you don't win games, you're not successful. And there's winning football games is the objective here, but it won't be met without building culture. And that's the part that is important for everybody to understand. Like, I talk a lot about culture and I talk about how important it is because it's a means to an end. You cannot win in this sport. Guys, it's such a tough sport. It is like, you're out there and there's times where, like, you're afraid for your own safety. You're fighting people. Like, and if you don't feel when you walk over to that sideline and when you're in your organization that you feel part of a family and part of a community, and the other team does, well, forget about it, man. You have no chance, right? And that's, to me, what we need to build here. And the players need to understand. Don't get me wrong. Players are going to get cut here. There's going to be changes. All those things are going to happen. But that's football. And if it's done in the right way, you still have community. You still have family. It's just, it's just got to be done in the right way.
Chris, just one last one for you. You spent 12 years with the U of A Bears. Can you just look back and you turned that program around? You guys had some good years here lately. Just what did that mean to you, and what do you wish that program going forward?
Yeah, for me, the biggest part of that program was it was just so defeated when I got there. Like, the guys just didn't feel like they didn't feel valued. They didn't feel like they were part of a family. They didn't feel like they were part of a community, right? And I was, my first few years there, we started to build community, but the community was built around, okay, we're going to stick together. No matter how bad we get beat, we're going to stick together. And that's not the kind of community I wanted to build, but that was the starting point. And then, we got to our fifth year together and we made the playoffs. And then that group of kids, that was my first recruiting class that I had when I came in there. And that's when, Ed Elnicky won the Heck Crichton Trophy, and we were one of the best. We beat the number one team in the country that year in that fifth year, right? And then from then on, we've been a very, very strong team. Last year, we're one play away from going pretty much to the Vanier Cup. And it's been a pleasure and an honor to work with those kids, because like, no one will really understand how hard the kids in that organization work. The kids in that program give everything they have to try to win. And it's, to me, the biggest regret I have there. And it's not, I shouldn't even call it a regret, because it was just such a tough year this year. Like, we had a great team this year, and we just got decimated by injuries. if there's another team in the country that can lose 4 to 5 offensive linemen, their starting quarterback, their starting tailback, several people on defense, and still come down to the last play against the top team of the conference twice and be up by whatever on several teams, and I don't know who it is, because when I first got to U of A, if we lost 2 offensive linemen, we were just going to take a beating, and that's just the way we just couldn't match up. So there's some great kids in that program, and what we did this year just wasn't reflective of all the hard work they put in them. My last message was to them, you guys need to go show everybody next year who you really are, because this year just wasn't what we are. This year did not reflect the work and the effort and the care that you guys have all put into this thing. And I'm really excited to watch those kids, because that place is a special place, and nothing's going to change, because the kids in that locker room are going to drive that place for several years to come. And I'm so hopeful that the new coach there embraces the same sort of values and works with those kids to get them over the hump. I'm excited, because someone else going in there might be able to get them over the hump, because there's some talent there.
Chris, this has been great.
Congratulations.
Congratulations once again.
Go get that email.
Yeah.
Go get that email. And I think
that.
on behalf of Maddie and everybody at EST, we love the green and gold. We wish you guys nothing but the success, and very excited for you to take over, and excited to see what other changes come to this organization.
Thank you very much.
All the best.
That's Chris Morris, the new president and CEO of the Edmonton Elks. It was made official today at a press conference just about an hour and 12 minutes ago. We're going to wrap up here quickly, as we'll send you over to the Reed Wilkins show. Maddie, even here, just talking to him here, you feel the intensity.
And before we wrap up, the thing, full eye contact with whoever's asking the question.
Yeah.
Usually you talk around, but no, you ask the question, I'm the one. You're the one that I'm talking to there. It's a different feeling. It's great. I love it. And I love the fact that, hey, U of A it wasn't always just about the wins. That's just not what the U of A is. But here it's about winning. That's the key. That's what fans want here. It's about the winning. He wants to bring the winning.
And just from the outside looking in, when he wasn't here, he was not wrong, Maddie. Everything he said, that what he saw was right. And so it's exciting. I love the energy he brings. And now I'm excited for November 24th or sooner, because we'll know who the GM will be of the Edmonton Elks, and then we'll know the coach, and then we can go from there. And it's exciting times for the green and gold, Maddie.
100%. Let's throw it to Reed and Jay.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all the thumbs up. Thanks to Zachticum back at the studio. For Joaquin Gage, Matthew Iwanyk, Dustin Nielson, this has been EST Afternoons live from Commonwealth Stadium. We'll send you over to the Reed Wilkins Show with Jay Milne. Ciao.